Audio test 1 2 1 2.
Oh, goodness, that's horrible, looking at a picture of myself. I haven't got a gavel to call you all to order, I'm afraid. Right. Are we ready? Let's begin then. Are you sitting comfortably? Let us begin. Yeah, okay, I'd just like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Executive on Wednesday, the 30th of April. And I'm not going to go through my colleagues and to ask them to introduce themselves, because I think most people are aware of who we are after a couple of years of listening to us. So I will just go through the basic. As far as I understand it, we don't have any members of the public addressing us. Is that correct? Nope, no members of the public. So I will move on to apologies for absence. And clearly I have apologies from Councillor Mike Bell. Otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here. Do we have any other apologies? And we have apologies from Councillor James Clayton. I'm not sure whether we have anybody watching online. But, no. Anyway, so declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest. Nope. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to the minutes. I'm taking it that everyone here has read the minutes carefully. Has anybody got any queries or comments or any inaccuracies that they want to highlight? No? Then can I take it that the minutes are approved? Do we? Yep. Okay, thank you. Right. Non-executive councillors wishing to address the executive. Has anybody notified us that they want to address us? Nope. Right, okay. So we move on then to the first item, which would normally be delivered by Councillor Bell, and I will do that. Oh. We can remove the apologies from Councillor Clayton. He is now present. Thank you. So we'll move on to the budget monitoring report for month 11. So this paper outlines the financial position of the council after 11 months. So we will have a final outturn paper at the executive in July. As you're all aware, 2024-25 has been a very challenging year, and we've needed to use reserves in order to balance due to an increase in the numbers and complexity of people we support as a council. The headlines are on page 3 of the report, 17 of the wider pack, and show that we are now actually forecasting a small overspend after mitigations of 0.021 million. Well, this is actually good news, as it means we are unlikely to need to draw on further reserves. Although there are still some underlying risks in the budget, even at such a late stage of the year. So basically, I know you will all have read this and looked at the tables, and we've had many, many discussions on the budget. What you're asked to do as an executive is to note the updated revenue and capital budget forecasts for the current financial year, to approve the changes to the revenue and capital budgets as detailed within Appendix 5, to approve the change to the 2025-26 revenue budget in respect of the Household Support Fund 7 grant allocation and the associated spending as detailed in section 3.8. And on that point, we are getting 2.3 million for that fund, which is now confirmed. And that is slightly lower in previous years, which is a disappointment, but I'm confident that we will do the best to make sure that this money is allocated in the best possible way for those people who need it. So I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions and open this up for discussion before we make a vote. Councillor Whitfield.
Just to clarify, that slightly clunky 0.021 million, that is 21,000.
It is 21,000, yes.
I just thought if anyone's watching the recording later on, it's easier. Thanks.
Yes, fair enough. Thank you for that. Councillor Blades.
Okay, if memory serves me rightly, in the 2028 reserves, Children's Services has no money left. Is that wise?
Sorry? In the 2028, did you say?
Yeah, in the charts, reserves, you've got a bar chart going down
Yeah.
showing all your reserves disappearing. Now, as far as I can make out, there's none left in the Children's Department in 2028.
I think I
might have misread
Amy
it.
has a comment
but I mean,
on that.
I just didn't understand why that would
Yeah.
be.
Yes, thank you. So the Council's reserves are made up of earmarked reserves within directorates and then overall corporate funding that we hold. So reserves will only be set aside within directorates where there's a specific requirement for those identified. In this case, in Children's Services, they're forecasting to spend them by the end of 2028. Hence, they would run out. And at the moment, we don't have any other identified areas of underspend that we could put into a reserve in order to fund things in the future. So your question is that wise? No, we would always prefer to have reserves in the bank, but that doesn't mean we'll run out of corporate reserves, which protect us from risks in other areas. And we will obviously identify earmarked reserves amongst other mitigations and provisions as part of the year-end process. So that's when we'll do a full update on the reserves position. Thank you.
Is that okay? Does that answer your question? Answered it certainly more clearly than I would.
I think it's always tricky with these reserves. They're dwindling everywhere. So I just noticed that seemed to flag up something worse than I was expecting on most of them. But yeah, it's all going to end up being in just one big pot in the end.
It is
anyway.
tough, and yes, it's not ideal, but
Oh, I know.
I believe we've got Councillor Bridger online.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just a quick question, probably another one for Amy, for clarification, really, with regards to the current position around vacancy management. So I know officers are monitoring the impacts of vacancies as part of our spending restrictions, obviously, but I am seeing some roles advertised. For example, this week, health and safety admin officer, I think a parenting coordinator, and a few others. So just a question about, are the controls still in place? Have they been relaxed, slightly relaxed? Where are we with regards to vacancy management, please? Thanks, Chair.
Yes, happy to take that one. Thank you, Steve. So at the moment, we are still running vacancy management controls throughout the council, which is pretty standard practice that we have a budgeted establishment and every post is reviewed before it goes out and is advertised. What we have done in terms of that dialogue with the organisation is let people know that we have set a balanced budget for 25-26, which is obviously where we are now. We're 1 month into it, which enables us to be able to fill those vacancies. So vacancies are under constant review, but they're not under the kind of really strict controls that we had as part of our response to the financial pressures last year.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? No? Right, can we move to the approval of the recommendations, please? All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. Thank you. Right, now it's me. So again, I'm quite pleased actually to have to present this paper. It's another of the important initiatives as part of our safety valve programme. And what I'm asking you to do here is to, I'll come to the recommendations in a second, but you'll have read this report outlining another significant investment by North Somerset Council to improve local SEND resources, that's special educational needs and disabilities, to promote inclusion and address educational needs whilst trying to manage the very challenging financial situation. It aligns, of course, with our key corporate aim that all our children and young people should have opportunities to thrive, and it fulfills our mandate as a local authority under the Children and Families Act to support children with special educational needs, emphasising community and parental engagement in decision-making. So what we are asking you to approve today is the creation of a SEND resource base at Gordano School for 25 secondary age students, particularly aimed at those with autism, ASD. We recommend that this is funded by £1.725 million from the basic need allocation. So, as you know, the school place planning strategy that we approved last year in July commits to creating these local places for pupils with special educational needs, and it's part of the Safety Valve Capital Programme overseen by the Department for Education. Currently, we've got 2 resource spaces completed out of the 5 that we committed to create. These are secondary age pupils, and the one at Gordeno will join the expanding Nailsea resource space and a new resource space at Clevedon School, which is going to be part of the B-Build expected in 2027, funded by the Council and within the DFE scheme. In terms of funding, these initiatives can be funded from 2 main sources, either the High Needs Provision Capital Fund or the Basic Needs Secondary Funding. And in this case, it has been recommended that the funding previously allocated for mainstream capacity at Gordeno will now contribute to the SEND resource base. And thus we recommend that the resource base at Gordeno is funded from the basic need resource. It's all outlined carefully in the paper. You will have read that we've also reached the point where expressions of interest for the design for the service have been completed and the tendering process is in progress to select a contractor. So I think this is a much needed facility for our young people, and it will significantly improve our offer for SEND students. And if I'd just like to ask you to raise any questions or any discussion about this before we move to the approval of the recommendations, hopefully. Anamika, Councillor Waite.
Yes, thank you. Just to say that I'm really pleased to see this. It's a resource that's very badly needed. So I'm really pleased to see that this is going forward. I'm also really pleased to see that there is very clear provision there for the construction to be to a net zero design, which is obviously completely in line with our own plans and intentions for how we want to go forward. So I'm really pleased to see this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we certainly are very committed to those eco-friendly building commitments. Councillor Caniford.
Thank you, Chair. Just to make sure we don't get any confusion, can you tell me that these 2 funding pots are government funding pots? They're coming from the Department of Education. What I don't want people to think is that all of a sudden we've managed to find £4 million out of our own budget after we've been telling them for 12 months that we are very short of money and we will be struggling with the same problems next year. But this is money, this is already provided by the DFE to educate our children in the district.
It is indeed, yes. Councillor Whitfield.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to really echo what's already been said, that it's a very much needed resource and really good as a councillor from Portishead to see an investment from North Somerset Council coming into the north of the area as well. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Whitford. It is really good, and those students might be travelling much longer distances without this opportunity to receive supported education within a mainstream environment. So yeah, I'm glad for your support. Thank you. So can we move to the vote? All those in favour of approval? Carried. Thank you. So I think we're moving over to Councillor Waite, where you're going to talk to us about the commissioning plan for the new 3 contracts. Is it electrical, mechanical and water hygiene services? So over to you, Councillor Waite.
Thank you. I'm sure you'll all remember that last year the Council entered into a short-term arrangement with a panel of specialist contractors to undertake the compliance testing and inspection regime. It was a short-term arrangement because the previous long-term contract was no longer suited to our changing needs. Experience from the past year has been very good, and it's provided us with an opportunity to monitor in detail the standard of service and to make sure that we were meeting our statutory obligations as a landlord and as an employer. The arrangement has been not just very efficient, but it's also been very cost-effective and has resulted in a £17,000 worth of savings. Moreover, it's also shown to be really valuable with respect to our desire to work with suppliers in the North Somerset district So this supports local supply chains as well as create local employment opportunities, and in general has supported community wealth building in our areas. So it's seen as a very, very positive way forward. So based on last year's positive experience, the proposal before us now is to provide our services through 3 separate contracts for electrical, for mechanical, and for water hygiene services. The proposal seeks to align with our corporate plan and will also include within the contract provisions to ensure that we push forward to the Council's goal of achieving net zero by 2030. The paper is very detailed and it contains all the timelines. They're all fully detailed in this paper, and it sets out the 3 options considered. And option 1 proposes to procure a panel of contractors, each with their own speciality, to undertake the compliance testing. This is our preferred option, and I'm very pleased to recommend this for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions for Councillor Waite? No? Nothing online? No. Right, then we can move to the approval. Carried, thank you. So we move on now to another paper that would be normally delivered by Councillor Bell, and that is our digital technology strategy. So for this report, we're seeking approval of the Council's digital strategy for 2025. The report summarises, as you see, the main developments in the strategy, it being our first digital technology strategy for 25-29 to be approved by the Executive. Given that it has huge impact on our communities, approval of the strategy is needed before any implementation plan is initiated. Obviously, we have strong foundations as a digitally enabled council, and the new strategy builds on that, and it combines our digital and ICT strategies. We've got aspirations for the future and how the new and existing technologies will help us deliver services better for our customers, manage demand, and make the best use of resources. And while we aim to be a digital-first council, we will never be a digital-only council, meaning that residents who need other ways of accessing services will always be able to do so. A detailed action plan is being developed, which will then be monitored, and our digital strategy also relates to the customer strategy of Councillor Whitfield, which will be up next. From my point of view, with my skills hat on, as it were, I'm very pleased to see that we've included in the digital technology strategy and customer experience strategy our commitments to tackling digital exclusion. They set out how we plan to support those moving to digital services from all backgrounds so that everyone can be as much included as possible within our financial constraints, obviously. In addition, I think you'll be talking, Councillor Whitfield, won't you, about the customer experience strategy and focus on exclusion and how that looks in the local context. So we'll hear more from you on that in a moment. But in short, our strategy aims to create accessible services by design, produced collaboratively with residents, to develop proxy access to allow a trusted friend or family member to act on a resident's behalf, to have inclusive design for digital channels and try to engage better with our younger audiences by understanding how they communicate and on what platforms. Of course, to work closely with our libraries and help them become prominent digital hubs with access to technology, skills and support. And we will continue working with the National Data Bank and National Device Bank so that we can support those to own or access technology. And we obviously have to work with WECA closely to lobby for improvements to the digital infrastructure, especially in rural areas. We do think these are achievable within our constraints, and I know we probably didn't have time with this strategy to react to the government's recent February paper on digital inclusion, but I know that our actions are pretty much aligned with that anyway. So in short, once again, I'm seeking the approval of the Executive for the Digital Strategy 2025 to 29. Do I have any questions or comments from anyone, which I'm sure I or Amy will answer. Who was first? Councillor Solomon, thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the important points you made is the exclusion side of things. That we earlier today we had a meeting with the libraries GCMS, I believe it is, isn't it, Amy? That the one thing was, a big feature was the digital exclusion thing. We have a lot of older residents in North Somerset, and it's really important that I'd love to see us go totally digital, that we don't forget those people that won't have access to devices, can't afford devices, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Whitfield.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say it's a very good strategy, I think, a good paper. It's really where we need to be. And every time we talk about digital strategies and digital first, the same thing comes up again. What about digital exclusion? And I think it's important to note that one of the main reasons for doing a digital strategy is to get the people who can engage with the digital technology to engage with it, so we free up those resources so that we can deal with the people who can't engage with it. So the more people who engage with it, the more resources we have available for the people who can't use the technology. And I think this strategy works really well to achieve that.
Yes, thank you. That's a really good point, and we'll reassure those people who aren't going to be able to access these digital platforms to use council services to know that we will effectively be putting resources into helping them. Councillor Homaris.
Thank you very much. I also strongly support this strategy, and I think it's a really exciting way forward, just thinking differently about the way we can deliver our services, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not just about transforming to digital for digital's sake. It's about improving access, improving speed of access, and hopefully improving the outcomes of delivering our services. So I have something in mind which I've been reading about in the health and housing sphere, which is my hat, and that is you can have sensors in houses which help you. They're called hygrometers, and they can help you look at how much damp there is in a house, and also the temperature. And having that kind of data there then allows you to be much more smart about how you apply your people, and how you reach out to people to improve their living conditions, ultimately their health outcomes. So I'm really excited about this kind of stuff going forward. So I look forward to us rolling this out. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think there are so many areas where council services and things that we offer our residents can be improved with a really good comprehensive digital strategy. I was visiting a place in Bristol today where we'll be working with young people, and I was seeing some of the work that they're doing in terms of creating sort of immersive digital imaging of sites, of buildings, which would enable people to access, I don't know, even let's say a museum, well, you can already do that, a museum digitally, or experience an archaeological site digitally, which makes it actually accessible for people who couldn't get there, and also protects and looks after those sites, but also makes them available to a wider audience. And we're already using AI in some areas of our services here, and it is making life easier for our practitioners. So thank you all for the support for this. And I think we can move to, Councillor Blades.
A bit light-heartedly, but has this council considered an electricity exclusion strategy? It's all right of an ICT, but if there's no electricity, we haven't got much. And looking at Europe, that looks like more and more likely every week.
I can't honestly say whether we've ever considered some remarkable event, such as you're referring to, struck in Portugal and Spain. Yeah, and I don't think they've got to the bottom of what caused that. But I think you're right. It's something that we're all going to have to think about in terms of our reliance on electricity. Do we have anything? Yeah.
Thank you. So it sits in Matt Lenny's area, actually, in terms of emergency management. Just to be clear, we do have clear business continuity plans in place in case of natural disaster, energy outage and fuel shortages, which we do occasionally rehearse. And obviously that throws up challenges for us organisationally about how we might mitigate that risk to residents, particularly around if loss of internet, for example, or mobile connection, to be able to communicate effectively. So wouldn't say we have it perfect, but we do have plans in place and would attempt to respond.
Thank you. Councillor Clayton.
Yeah, just on the emergency plan, that does sit within my portfolio, and in my last briefing we had a discussion with officers around the emergency plan stroke strategy, and we felt that actually it was something that is quite critical to the council, but not a lot of councillors will be aware of what the plan is. So we are looking in the future to bring an all members briefing to in relation to emergency planning.
And Councillor Clayton, do you know whether that would address a specific crisis such as we saw happen in Europe? Yeah. Fantastic. I'll look forward to that. Okay. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay. Then can we take the vote for approval? Thank you, that's carried. So now, Councillor Whitfield, Roger, it's over to you, and you can fill us in on the customer experience strategy.
We are marching through this today, aren't we?
I did say I'd be quick.
So yes, the customer experience strategy. I believe that as a council, we should ensure that we're considerate and timely with all of our communications with our customers. Customer's a bit of a strange word, isn't it? But it's the one that we choose to use for our ratepayers, I guess. This strategy seeks to lay out a framework for use across the entire organisation to maintain a high-quality customer experience. This, of course, goes hand in hand with the digital strategy that was the previous agenda item. The report has already been shared, and I believe that it has been well designed to fit in with our corporate plan and to deliver a bare minimum standard of a good customer experience to all of our customers. Although I do hope that we will aspire to an excellent customer service across all of our areas. There's a lot in there. Hopefully everyone's had a look through it. But I think when it comes to delivering what we want as councillors and what the customers want and expect, that what's in there is what we need to do to deliver that. And with strategies, it's always a bit like, okay, we've got a strategy. Now the real key is to implement that strategy and make sure that everyone's following it. So that's a tad more difficult than just delivering the paper. But hopefully this will be the start of an improving customer experience where, as I've said on the digital exclusion, where we can free up resources from the front line towards digital so that we can then deal with the people who need our help the most. So I'm just looking for approval on this, or I will answer any questions that I can.
Thank you. Councillor Young.
Actually, don't worry, Roger, it's a comment rather than a question, or there might be a question in there. I just wanted to flag up, before I became a councillor 2 years ago, I had no idea that the council had a customer services team. And although it's not directly referenced, I don't think, in this strategy, because that's about more broadly how we're moving forward, I think it's really important that we also share with people how far we've come over the course of a long period of time, but particularly, I think, over the last year. And I know something that I raised some time ago now was, how do we understand all of the different things that come into different places within the council when they might be concerns about the same matter? And we didn't at that point have a system to bring all of those together if they happened to go to different teams. And I think I was particularly focused on the issues around Clevedon Seafront, some of which might have gone to Highway, some to the Chief Executive, some to other people within the team, some to local councillors, and there didn't seem to be a way to collate them fully. So I've been particularly impressed and pleased about the role that customer services now play through a system that's been implemented. I can't remember exactly when. Amy would be able to tell us, I'm sure. I didn't quite hear that, but and that enables a real tracking of those issues that come into us. And I think there's a lot in this experience strategy about data, but of course you can't track the data about need and about the things that people are concerned about unless you're able to capture what's coming in. And it's been a real learning curve, I think, for councillors like me to make sure that we also copy in customer services when we're getting queries direct, even if we can answer them ourselves, so that, you know, so there's a record for people and they get a better experience. But I think now lots of people are getting more used to it, and it's really a great system. And I just wanted to give a shout out because customer service is not a huge team, but I think they do an absolutely fantastic, amazing job, and they get things to the right places, they chase to make sure responses come through, they track it, and they support councillors in doing that too. So I just wanted to make sure that we promote that to our communities, because we're making such progress, and it's a starting point, but it's one that's a really important base for a strategy such as this one. So I really welcome it, and thank you to the officers who've put that in place.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree. The new system is helpful, and we do get to track the sort of queries we're getting. And I think it's helpful for the residents when they get a case tracker number, because they know that they've got a reference and they can go back and follow up their case. I won't talk anymore because I've got Councillor Cunniford and Councillor Solomon.
And really, just to echo that, and I think Hannah's quite right in highlighting that. The only thing I was going to ask, and I'm not asking this to be a change, I'm really in support of the strategy, but do we in any way track the customer experience in the sense that, do we ask the customer out of 1 to 10 what they thought of the service? Because one thing I am fully aware of, in terms of people who call into the council or meet officers, they are extremely satisfied with the service they get. But if you looked at social media, it's the worst council in the world, not just the UK. So it's just astonishing that there's that huge variance in what people want to say and what people actually tell us is going on. So it's just an interest that, and if we do, we need to publicise that more, because they do a fantastic job, as Hannah's quite rightly said.
I think that's right. Roger, do you want to come back on that? I mean, I've got some comments from personal experience, but I'll go over to you.
Yep, certainly. I think Amy also has maybe would want to come back on that as well. So yeah, when it comes to tracking the experience, I think that's really the key part of having a strategy. You can't have a strategy and implement it unless you track through your, I hate corporate speak, your key performance indicators, so your KPIs. So you need to track through what your outcomes are, what the person's experience is. Otherwise, the strategy is just something that's written on a piece of paper, isn't it? And when it comes to the tracking that Hannah mentioned, when I first joined this council, nigh on 2 years ago now, I was extremely surprised that customer services weren't working the way they are now. And I know I spent some time talking through options with them to try and find a system that would work. And you know what, to anyone in the room, I know that there was teething problems when it all first started off as well. But I think now we're getting there with it. We've got a system that's working, that's trackable. Once we get the key performance indicators tracked and back to council so we can all see what's going on, I think everyone will hopefully be impressed with the increase in customer satisfaction that I'm hoping for.
Thank you. And I was just going to add that if any of you have, and I know I have, and most councillors have had the opportunity to sit and shadow one of our customer service persons and listen to them dealing with clients or customers, their professionalism and the way they deal with people is just fantastic. and we should be proud of them. So I'd like to give them a shout out as well before I go over to Councillor Solomon.
Yeah, looking at these figures, and I find them quite staggering. The fact that we're getting 212,000 calls to the call centre, which I've worked out will average about 600 to 700 a day, of which it's showing here there's a 99% satisfaction. So it begs the question, why are we getting 600 to 700 called into the centres a day? And is this new digital strategy going to help us reduce those call numbers, and hence reduce costs and give better customer satisfaction? Although 99.2 seems good to me.
Sounds like we're a victim of our success. Do you want to comment on that?
Thank you, absolutely. And we do consistently achieve high ratings for our customer telephone contact. As the digital strategy and this strategy kind of speak to one another, one of the ambitions is obviously to create more digital contact. And one of the benefits of that is the data, as Councillor Whitfield has already articulated. But that means you're not relying on a person to remember the contact, to instigate it and get back to you. So actually one of the benefits for our residents and our customers that we see in that is that they get that automatic feedback. When something is done, they'll know. The other things that obviously we're working on is wanting to be more proactive in how we update people. We just introduced the Cloud9 app, so our council app, and do encourage people to download that and have a go with it, because we're also looking to use proactive communication straight to people's mobile rather than necessarily needing to pick up. But yes, they do offer a very, very good service across a huge range of services in that call centre. But it does average, that's one resident calling us, every resident that we have calling us each year. And I suspect that some of us are calling us more often than others, because they need us, of course. So, yeah, this strategy helps to support that performance. And as Councillor Whitfield has said, that the information that we see on social media doesn't necessarily reflect what people are telling us. So the best way for people to get their voice heard and have a feedback loop is to contact us, make a complaint if they have an issue. We also welcome compliments and do track them.
Thank you. And yes, certainly I have to say that the app, I hope people are listening and do download it. It is incredibly useful already. I mean, the fact that I've had reminders as to when my green waste must be put out is really good, if nothing else. But it will develop as we go forward and have far more functions. So it's going to be great. Right, thank you. Any further questions? Anyone online? No? Okay. Right, then we will, unless you want to sum up or say anything further, Councillor Whitfield, we'll move to approval.
Yeah, no, just to say that I think I forgot to mention when we went through, it's been through scrutiny and they're happy with it all as well. So we've closed the loop on this one now, so it's just for us to vote on. Thank you.
Thank you. So, all those in favour of approval? No, that's carried. Thank you. We are making good time. So we move on to the Q3 performance and risk update, which is a report from you, Amy. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, it's your show today.
Thank you. Apologies, I was just passing the message on to the team about the feedback that you've just given, because I know that they'll really appreciate that. So the report that you have around Q3 performance is for the quarter ended actually December 24. So we are looking at lagging measures here, but this is the corporate performance collection and risk management update for the quarter. As you can see, we were making progress against a significant number of measures, with over 50% being green or green amber for being on track for delivery, and a significant number delivered, which are the ones marked as blue. And the key risks, were none added in terms of the Q3 update. So very happy to take any questions. One of the things that we're working on as a team for the year-end update that comes to executive in July is some narrative around the achievements in the year, so we can bring those to life for the executive and for residents a bit more clearly. Thanks.
Thank you. Just to say, colleagues, this is a report for noting. So are there any Questions, comments or discussion that we want to have? Councillor Young.
Again, it's a comment rather than a question, but just on page 124, notice that we have an action around continuing to invest in our highways and transport network to connect places and communities. And I just wanted to take this opportunity, although I'm talking about things which are for this year rather than last year, to say that we've now just signed off our capital maintenance plans for this year for highways, and also just today the set of schemes that are funded by what's called ITB, Integrated Transport Block Funding, which is the schemes that are requested by local communities, councillors, and by the teams around things like road safety and active travel and a whole range of other improvements. And I'm really pleased to see that happening much earlier in the year this time round than last year, which means I think that we're on the front foot in how we use the resources that are coming into us from government by council to be able to really get that programme set up. And so I really, I hope next year we'll really see the benefit of that in terms of those investments.
Thank you. That's a very helpful comment. Any other comments from anyone? No? Okay, well, we'll move on and note that. Thank you so much. Go on to matters referred to the executive and not dealt with elsewhere on the agenda, of which there are none. And the West of England sub-region items not dealt with elsewhere on this agenda, and there are none there. So we are moving on to the forward plan. Sorry? Yes, for noting. Sorry, yes. And any comments, queries, or any other remarks that anyone wishes to make? Now is your time. No? No? No one online either? Okay. So we are noting the forward plan, approving it, moving on. So, oral reports from executive councillors. So do I have any colleagues who want to give a brief oral report on anything? Councillor Young, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to reference the fact that I'm obviously very well aware that there have been a number of concerns raised about bus services since the service changes happened in early April, and particularly from certain areas of Weston-super-Mare and certain communities within Weston-super-Mare and also in Yatton and Long Ashton. I would really strongly encourage everyone to get the dates in their diary for the bus forums that we have coming up, because I think there's a lot that we'd like to share with communities around how bus services are funded, who makes the decisions, and how to influence how the services develop. I'm not going to spend a long time on it now, but just really briefly, the council invests around £2.7 million per year at the moment through national grant funds of various types into local bus services, but we don't commission all of the bus services, so we're not responsible for all of them in that sense, but we do work very closely with our bus operators. So it's quite complicated, but in order to make sure that we can continue to have sustainable buses, we need to get more people on them, generating revenue, or we need to be able to get equivalent grants to sustain what we have already. And at the moment, we know those grants that we have come to an end at the end of March next year, and we won't know until June this year what we will have for the future. So it's a really important time to be engaging with the forums on the 19th of May online and on the 21st of May at the campus in Weston-super-Mare, and there'll be lots of information going out digitally and to town and parish councils, and I'd encourage people to spread the word in their communities to come along and hear more from operators and the council and have your say. I just also wanted to say briefly that in relation to the concerns that have been raised in Weston, particularly around the change in the Severn, the seafront loop, and some of other of the local services, I met with First Bus yesterday. The right people to meet with were on leave until Monday this week, so at the earliest opportunity I met with First Bus along with the leader of the council, Mike Bell, and deputy leader Catherine Gibbons. It's obviously a key issue to us, so we went en masse. and we had a really good discussion, I think it's fair to say, with First Bus around what we could do to try to sustainably find a solution that could meet the needs of some of our communities. We know normally our next opportunity would be September to make further changes, but we're currently looking at options for whether there are things that we can do on a temporary or short-term basis in advance of September. I don't know whether we can yet, but First Bus are doing some work with the team, going away and having a look at it, particularly around that seafront loop and Waterloo Street stop, which is so important to people. I also want to reference that I've also been working to look at what we can do for residents in the uphill area, particularly about the Westlink zones, because along with these service changes, we wanted to be able to make some changes to the Westlink zones, so if people lose access to their core scheduled service, they would still be able to access demand responsive transport. We couldn't do that while the West of England Combined Authority mayoral elections are ongoing, because it's a contract that is commissioned by the West of England Combined Authority. So we're working on that, and again, I hope there's something that we can do in the summer period before September. Lastly, I've also asked First Bus yesterday to look again at the timetable for the X9 in Long Ashton, which I know a number of parents of children attending Nailsea School had been concerned about. We certainly want to fix that in September. I had an indication from First Bus yesterday that it might be possible to do something quite a lot earlier than that, but I'm waiting for confirmation. So just reassurance that I'm working really hard, as are Mike and Catherine, to try to get the best service that we can, bearing in mind that we know that we still need to be pushing for the resources that we need for next year, so that we can carry on to have the bus network that we've got currently and hopefully improve it into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Yes, I did attend those meetings. I think it's really good that you've highlighted this so people know we are listening. I had many emails about the changes, and they weren't positive emails. They were people who didn't expect it and who found difficulties in getting children to college or school, and older people who found that they couldn't access services in Weston-super-Mare the way they wanted. So we are listening. We're doing our best to work with people, but Councillor Young, can we just ensure that all councillors are aware of the bus forums that are taking place and make sure that they encourage people who are interested to come?
Yeah, I think the information's gone out today, but I will double check. Certainly all councillors and all town and parish councils will be invited, but they are open to anybody who wants to attend, not limited to councillors or town and parish councils, so please do spread the word.
Really for councillors to make sure that they spread the news within their wards and their networks. Any further oral reports? Councillor Solomon, are you planning to talk to us? I was going to say, I'm being teacherly, you know, can we all share with the information? Okay. So anybody else with any report to share? No, I don't have anything to say, so I won't take up your time. Next item is any urgent business as permitted by the Local Government Act 1972. None. And we have none. So, no exempt items, which means that I think I can say the meeting is over. And thank you all very much for coming on this beautiful sunny day and sitting in this lovely room, getting cool. Thank you.